And then with auditions, you're supposed to, you got to try to stand out through your performance. But sometimes I hear people doing like the most goofy things. Like I saw a video on Instagram earlier today where this guy is trying to charge you for acting advice. And he's like, yeah, I booked my last role by standing out of my audition. My character was supposed to be a cowboy. So for my audition, I rode a horse. And that you're doing too much at that point. If you got to ride a horse just to get into camera, you're going into goofy territory, and 99% of the time that those type of tactics are gonna fail. That's just bad advice, and then for him to charge you to give you bad advice is wild.
I have sat with the concept, the idea of standing out in your auditions and what that really means.
But it's got to be reasonable. Like, yeah, you do some off the wall stuff. Like for when you helped me do the audition for New Amsterdam, I was supposed to be a patient getting on a crash cart. So we did the audition with me laying down on two chairs, and then like convulsing and whatever, what doing the lines, like I'm in a crash cart. But for us to like actually go into a hospital and then you rolling me into the scene, like that's a bit too much.
Yeah. I feel like something that I've been realizing is that the goal may not necessarily be to stand out, as in, I'm going to say, okay, I need to stand out. I need to try to stand out. I feel like what's more accurate is to say, I need to tell the truth, right? I need to portray the truth. And I feel that the closer that we get to that for ourselves, the consequence of that is that we'll just naturally arrive at some kind of choice which stands out, right?
Right.
Because if you say, I'm going to try to stand out, then your mind starts going to all of these, can start going to all of these wacky things in a way.
Right.
To be like, okay, how can I be different? But I feel like if we just say, okay, I'm in this situation. What is the truth of this situation, these circumstances? So if you use your New Amsterdam idea, for example, right? The truth of it is that, okay, you're a patient, you are on a gurney, and then you start going down the list of things, right? So it makes perfect sense to say, you know what? I'm going to lie down and then shoot it that way and then see what comes up and then just keep going, right?
Right.
I'm lying down. Great. Am I on my side or something like that? Okay. Are there other individuals around me? Where's the person, pushing, they're behind me. Okay. Who's talking to me? When you start asking those questions and getting to the truth of the scene, of the circumstances or whatever, I feel like all the things that are going to make you stand out just start to naturally take shape, as opposed to attempting to do something, whether it's like shocking or out of the ordinary for just the shock value of it. Unless for some reason that character is that kind of person, right? Who just happens to do things for shock value. And then, okay, maybe that plays into what makes you stand out. But if not, then I feel like aiming for the truth is always the best bet.
Yeah.
Because the way that you see a scene is going to be different than the way that somebody else, another actor, sees that same scene.
Right. Because with acting, it's telling the truth under imaginary circumstances. A lot of people say, "Oh, you must be a good actor. I mean, you must be a good liar because you're an actor." When in reality, acting is about telling the truth, not about lying. And by doing something like showing up to your audition on a horse, that's a disservice. You're not being authentic. You're being And then you're also taking away from your performance, because then they start looking at the horse and start thinking about other things. Oh, how much did he pay to rent that horse? Did he already have the horse? Is the horse trained? You know, like all these questions about a horse when they really should be watching you perform.